be a sap, which they are in this case.
Senator Dale Bumpers, Democrat of Arkansas, has introduced a bill to reform the 1872 law, but doesn't expect those cashing in to give in quietly.
The American Mining Congress has a lot of clout here. Western senators, very protective of the mining industry. And a lot of them, frankly, they'll tell you privately that they know it's outrageous and they wish me well, but they can't support it.
Even more outrageous than the land giveaway, some people say, is the environmental abuse that can take place under the 1872 law, which is so old it has no environmental restrictions. As a result, miners have left behind scarred landscapes, polluted streams, and barren forests across the West.
We documented some $14 billion that this industry has spent since the 70s to clean up its past omissions and commissions.
Well, they must be looking at the world through gold-colored glasses, because that's not the picture that we see. No one will defend the picture of the industry's past with a straight face.
Phil Hocker runs the Mineral Policy Center, an organization campaigning to reform the 1872 law. A recent study, Hocker says, found unreclaimed mining activity has scarred more than 420,000 acres in 11 western states, a figure he believes could actually be twice as large. This is the Santa Fe National Forest in northern New Mexico. Beautiful scenery. But look closely and you'll see something else. Mining operations like this one. Critics say this is highly undesirable. But under the 1872 law, an operation like this is virtually unstoppable. At stake is a 1,700-acre claim in the Santa Fe National Forest, filed by businessman Richard Cook, who is now mining a small portion of it.
This is a unique product and a unique location.
It's a pumice mine. The minerals from this mine are used to make stonewashed jeans.
Michael Stewart, founder of Project Lighthawk, an environmental group, worries Cook will spoil the landscape irrevocably. At the moment, it's a very small area, but you fear it may get larger?
This entire forest that you're looking at here will be gone. He can do anything he wants to it. He can clear all the trees, mine, and he doesn't even have to reclaim the land. He can just leave it like you see it right there, bare, just bare rock.
That's not true. When we finish with this area, it'll be prettier than it is today.
Do you think this law, which was put on the books in 1872, ought to still be there?
Oh, I think that there's a need for that law.
Yeah, but I'll bet you if you buy this land for $2.50, and I come to you the next day and offer you $3 an acre, you'll laugh at me.
That's correct.
Because you know it's more valuable than that.
Absolutely.
Well, then how is this fair to the taxpayers?
It is not just the $2.50. It is all the money we've spent getting to this point.
So, under the 1872 law, the land is cheap, environmental concerns are not a priority, but there's one more thing, and it may be the reason the mining industry is fighting so hard to keep things the way they are. The minerals are free. The 1872 law allows miners to haul off minerals from public lands without paying a penny to the government in royalties. Oil companies pay for the oil they pump on public lands, but mining companies pay nothing.
Off of public lands in Nevada alone, over the next 5 years, more than $10 billion worth of gold is going to be removed, and you and I will not get a penny for that.
These mining companies will pay a handsome royalty to somebody to mine their lands, their private lands, but swear they're going broke if you charge them a royalty on federal lands. That's how bizarre it is.
But while some say the 1872 law is ready for the museum, the incentives to preserve it may be too compelling. In Washington, 118-year-old laws die hard.
You know, when I was looking for co-sponsors on my bill, I asked one senator, I told him about all these bizarre things and about how you could actually buy federal lands for $2.50 an acre. He was incredulous. But when I asked him to co-sponsor, he said, oh, hell no, I'm going to Nevada to stake me some claims.
That was 2 years ago, and sure enough, that year reform failed. But Senator Bumpers and his allies are back. Last week, the House Interior Committee passed a strong reform bill, which is making its way through Congress. With the public more aware of how the 1872 law works, perhaps this year things will be different.
In a moment, She didn't eat much meat.
People have a primal, instinctive craving for hamburgers.
He had a drinking problem.
Is that a lime?
No, it's a drink.
And he won't be going to Barcelona.
Because Reebok really wants me to win in Barcelona.
Commercial disasters when prime time continues.
10 years. I still get butterflies.
Funny, she doesn't look married. I bet she cries or bites her lip.
Hello, stranger.
I'm hardly a stranger.
Well, you are late.
I know. You shouldn't have waited 10 years for this. Happy anniversary. The Diamond Anniversary Band. Tell her you'd marry her all over again.
You sure can pick an appetizer.
What would happen if Kraft took the great taste of ranch some Parmesan and Romano cheese, a touch of garlic, and mixed it all together? We call it New Kraft Caesar Ranch. You'll call it delicious. New Caesar Ranch, only from Kraft, America's house dressing.
Kmart's got Glidden paint on sale.
There's the house guard. So what color did you decide on?
White. I'm getting cover perfect for you.
Do I really have to paint my room?
Only if you want to live there.
Custom tinting at no extra charge, and you pick white.
It's my house.
I'm your neighbor. I have to look at it.
You want to pick the color? You help me paint.
White's a classic.
Let's contribute to the Star Spangled Banner Monument.
Red, white, and blue. Nice colors.
Your breakfast, sir.
This new Kellogg's Frosted Bran is quite sensible. Crispy flakes with whole wheat and bran, lightly frosted for a taste.
A taste that's delicious. I love it. I love it. 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 I love it.
And new Kellogg's Frosted Bran has less sugar than you'd imagine, but the taste, it's out of
We've got to stop serving this.
New Kellogg's Frosted Bran, wildly delicious, sensibly good.
Michael Levine faced a psychologist today. We'll hear from the doctor.
There is a new development in the bitter battle between a primarily black neighborhood in Garfield Heights and the city's school district.
And a mid-air cocaine drop-off is captured on videotape. News Channel 5 is next.
Saturday. ABC in Concert presents a special 4th of July appearance by John Mellencamp from his hometown Indianapolis, the heartland of America. Ain't That America, a July 4th celebration with John Mellencamp, late night Saturday.
Monday, honor the best in the business. Bob Saget hosts a tribute to this year's hottest athletes. The Jim Thorpe Pro Sports Awards, Monday.
And finally tonight, you know us too well to think we could resist the sad saga of Dan and Dave. As everybody's read by now, Reebok built an entire campaign on these two athletes and their upcoming Olympic rivalry until, of course, Dan ceased to be upcoming and failed to qualify for the Olympics. It's the kind of thing that can crush an athlete's spirit and give an advertising executive ulcers. So we asked Judd Rose to find out, when it all comes crashing down, what happens on Madison Avenue?
This summer, they'll battle it out in Barcelona for the title of world's greatest athlete.
Well, like the ads say, life is short, not to mention full of surprises.
Situation. This is it. He's not on the team if he doesn't make this height, and he knows it.
Last weekend, when Dan O'Brien blew his big chance, it was a heartbreak for him and a heart attack for Reebok, which had already sunk $20 million into its ads promoting a Dan and Dave showdown at the Olympics.
To be settled in Barcelona.
He pays your money and he takes your chances. These are $1 million shoes, but they're placed on feet of clay.
There's no insurance for this sort of thing, even though it happens more than you might think.
I mean, I know people who don't eat burgers, but I'm not sure I trust them.
A few years back, while this ad was on TV, Sybil Shepherd was quoted in an interview saying she actually didn't eat much red meat. So long, Sybil. Well done. Meanwhile, her moonlighting pal Bruce Willis was paid $5 to $7 million to promote a wine cooler. But the fun stopped when it became public knowledge that Willis had a drinking problem. He was quietly dropped. Pepsi popped for $5 million to have Madonna sing its praises. But her MTV video of the same song used in the ad offended many Christian viewers. They complained to Pepsi. The multi-million-dollar commercial ran once.
Hey, Diet Pepsi's a champion too.
For sheer embarrassment, Mike Tyson beats everyone. Pepsi paid him $3.5 million for ads like this one with then-wife Robin Givens. But then Mrs. Tyson accused Iron Mike of hitting her.
He cannot control his temper, and that's frightening.
There's a very technical, arcane advertising term for what Pepsi did by signing Mike Tyson, and that term is completely moronic.
To avoid these headaches, many advertisers now insist on deals that give them an out if their celebrity endorser misbehaves. And then there are those who snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. Bo Jackson continues to be a big star for Nike long after his hip problems cut short his sports career.
This is ridiculous. I'm an athlete, not an actor. Let me out of this thing. I got rehab to do.
So what now for Dan and Dave?
Well, the campaign so far has been like a great summer book. And all of a sudden, 2/3 of the way through the book, you've come across an incredible twist to the plot. You now can't wait to get to the final chapter of that book.
In plain English, Reebok is trying to salvage things. Last night, there was a new Dan and Dave commercial that turned Dan's agony into the thrill of defeat.
This was not a tragedy. This was an unmitigated bonanza. That's what it was. I mean, there hasn't been such a non-tragedy since Jed Clampett missed the possum.
With $20 million on the line, Reebok's hoping that despite Dan's bad luck, you'll still want to be in his shoes.
We'll check in with Ted Koppel now for a preview of tonight's Nightline. Ted?
Diane, later on Nightline, we'll talk face-to-face with Vice President Dan Quayle. He's been praised by the right, ridiculed by critics, but he's not backing down. Tonight, the Bush campaign's road warrior, Vice President Quayle. Diane?
That's Nightline. Don't forget 2020 right here tomorrow night. I'm Diane Sawyer in New York. Good night to you. Good night, Sam.
Good night, Diane. I'm Sam Donaldson in Washington. Join us again next Thursday night for another edition of Primetime Live.
For a transcript, please send $5 to Journal Graphics, 1535 Grant Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203. Primetime is a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
America is watching ABC.
Lady Borden Premium Ice Cream. Now every flavor has more flavor. More rich roasted pecans. More pure creamy chocolate. More luscious hand-picked strawberries. Lady Borden Premium Ice Cream. Full of more good things than ever before. You'll love Lady Borden Premium Ice Cream with more flavor in every flavor.
Another new truck. I'm going to start calling you Mr. Moneybags.
You don't need to be a Mr. Moneybags to drive a new Ford every 2 years.
How's that?
Simple. The 2-year red carpet lease from my Ford dealer.
Isn't leasing expensive?
Not at all.
Ford F-150, #1 in Northeast Ohio. Loaded with style and comfort. And now leasing one may make more sense than ever.
Well, I guess I won't call you Mr. Moneybags.
Yeah, just call me Smart.
Ask your Ford dealer about leasing. Another way he's winning Ohio over.
Horns goes out of business in 11 days. Watch the dots for 40 to 50% off marked prices, up to 75% off original prices. Hurry, doors close July 12th.
From News Channel 5, Cleveland's live 24-hour news source continues. Brought to you by Ohio Edison.
Good evening, everyone. A new development in the